Graph y equals minus 3 plus 2 secant of x over a 1 period interval. To graph secant, we graph cosine. So we start by graphing a quick little sketch of cosine. So y equals minus 3 plus 2 times cosine x. And once again, notice that this equation looks identical almost to this equation, except that instead of secant, we have replaced that with cosine. So we graph this. It has a vertical shift of down to negative 3, so that's our middle graph. The middle of our graph is down at negative 3. It has an amplitude of positive 2, so up from the middle 2, down from the middle 2. So once we graph this dotted version of cosine, then we're going to use this to graph secant. So when we're at the middle of the graph, these are like our x-intercepts. This is where they were shifted down, but these are like the x-intercepts of the graph. And everywhere I'm at the middle of my graph, this is where then an asymptote will be for secant. So I'm going to find the middle points of the graph, and those asymptotes occur at pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2. Now the extreme points of the graph will be the maximum values and the minimum values. And once we have those extreme values, those are the points that cosine and secant will share, and we go away from the graph using that U-shape graph, getting close to the asymptotes. So if cosine is below the middle of the graph, then secant will also be below, and it points in the opposite direction. So here we would go up and get close to the asymptote, and here we would go up and get close to the asymptote. And once again, we can erase the guide that we used for cosine. And once we get rid of cosine, then what we actually have left is y equals minus 3 plus 2 secant of x.